What's up guys, Ninth Gym here, back with another Scarlet Violet video. Today we're going to be talking about popular strategies in VGC as of right now, the very early stages of VGC. On Pokemon Showdown, there's a chat room with VGC, and we've been talking about a lot of powerful strategies, and there's been unofficial best of one tournaments as well, and these strategies have done incredibly well in those strategies. We're going to be talking about 3 incredibly popular, very dominating strategies, and 2 that I think are really good, but maybe a bit outshined by the initial 3 that we're going to be talking about. First off, we have FlutterMane Chi-Yu, which seems to be the most overwhelming strategy currently in the game. We have FlutterMane, which is an incredibly strong Paradox Pokemon with ridiculously high special attack and speed stats. You're going to be hitting really hard really fast, and that's really the idea of FlutterMane. Now, the synergy here with Chi-Yu is going to be its ability Beads of Ruin, which makes the special defense stat of all other active Pokemon reduced by 25%, effectively making FlutterMane's special attack 25% stronger, especially when you pair it with very strong stab spread moves like Dazzling Gleam. Its ability Photosynthesis, if you do not know, it makes the highest stat 1.3 times or 1.5 times if speed, and it's typically going to be speed. So this gives effectively a +1 into speed instantly. And you have to use the item Booster Energy or be active in Sun. So that's where the synergy with Torkoal comes in, because it activates Drought and allows FlutterMane to use something like a Choice Specs or a Focus Sash. You can use FlutterMane and Chi-Yu on really any team. Of course, if you don't use Torkoal, you will be wanting to use that booster energy item, because that's what's going to proc your Photosynthesis. Really high damage. You have Dazzling Gleam, Moonblast, Mystical Fire, you can use Shadow Ball, and it just has a really wide range of coverage moves. So if you really need to, you have things like Energy Ball, Icy Wind, Power Gem, Thunderbolt, and of course Terra Blast. Chi-Yu also is really powerful and has access to other strong spread moves, things like Heat Wave, and it has access to Dark Pulse, and you can have very high damage moves like Overheat that I've been seeing because it's very, very frail. Well, except for special defense. So that is FlutterMane Chi-Yu. That's the most powerful strategy that I've found so far. The next strategy we're going to be talking about is Dondozo Tatsugiri. This is one that a lot of people are playing, and if you don't know what it does, it makes Dondozo a 1v2 that's incredibly powerful. Tatsugiri has the ability Commander. It goes into Dondozo's mouth and gives it a 2 times Omni boost on everything, a +2 to every single stat, but effectively gives it a 2 times boost on attack, defense, special defense, and speed, which is absolutely ridiculous. And Tatsugiri then becomes a null and void Pokemon for Dondozo, and then when Dondozo faints, Tatsugiri comes back out and hits, small amounts of damage and stuff, the regular Tatsugiri stuff. But this is an incredibly powerful strategy as it makes Dondozo a tank and also does a ridiculous amount of damage, and you have a move called Order Up that gives it a +1 to a certain stat, depending on which Tatsugiri you're using. It also has access to Body Press, which is pretty ridiculous since its base 115 defense gets a +2. You have really powerful Earthquake. A lot of players are making its Terra type Dragon so that you can get big boosts on Order Up, and I like that. I think that's probably a pretty solid scenario. Unaware is probably what we're going to use here. Oblivious is also very tempting, being able to dodge Intimidate. Also, a lot of the time on the Dondozo Tatsugiri team, we're going to be seeing Grimmsnarl due to its prankster screens, just to make this thing even more bulky and impossible to deal with. Haze and Clear Smog are going to be really good ways to deal with Dondozo to get rid of those giant Omni boosts and make this an actually normal Pokemon. You also have things like Final Gambit that can just do a lot of damage through health and not really, through its defenses. Next, we're going to be talking about a Sun team, Torkoal and friends. So as far as the Sun team goes, it's going to be a Torkoal team. A lot of the time it's going to have Lilligant, but a lot of the time it's also going to just have Trick Room, and a lot of the time it's going to have both. Now, most of the time when you see a Torkoal team, it's going to have access to one of these Paradox Pokemon, typically going to be FlutterMane, maybe going to be Roaring Moon. That's another really powerful one. And due to the fact that Photosynthesis is procced by Sunny Day, so it just makes sense to put those onto a Torkoal team. Now, this is typically going to take a Trick Room stance, So you're gonna have a Pokemon like Oranguru on the team, or one of these other powerful Trick Room setters. Mimikyu if you want to have a more flexible team, Oranguru, Slowbro in some scenarios, Gothitelle in some scenarios. There's a few other good Trick Room Pokemon, but these are the main ones that really stood out. Bronzong's also a really solid option, and yeah, that's your Trick Room setters, your main Trick Room setters in this format. Then you also have other Pokemon that take advantage of Trick Room. Things like Iron Hands is a really strong Trick Room Pokemon. You have Brute Bonnet as well. Also, just the regular Amoonguss if you want. There's a lot of really powerful Trick Room Pokemon. I'm not going to talk about all the Trick Room stuff right now. The big thing here on Torkoal is going to be your Eruption. Now, we've already talked about it if you watched my other videos talking about the returning Mons. Torkoal is really powerful in this format due to its ability to terrestrialize and turn into fire to get 2 times stab. And that's going to make your Eruption, your base power 150 Eruption, doing really, really ridiculous damage. Now you can also put Choice Specs on here if you want. Not Choice Scarf, definitely not Choice Scarf. Choice Specs or like Charcoal or anything like that to just do a lot of damage with Eruption. You also have things like Heat Wave and all that kind of stuff. And I think potentially Wide Guard is going to be a powerful strategy in this format due to the FlutterMane, the Chi-Yu, the Torkoal, all of those Pokemon, even Earthquake by Dondozo, all those really powerful spread moves I think are going to be really big in this format. So maybe you'll want to have something as simple as like a Flamethrower on here as well. But maybe you don't want to go for 3 stab moves or 3 fire moves. You're definitely going to want like Eruption and even Iron Defense, Body Press, things like that. And of course, Lilligant can make an appearance on these Torkoal teams due to its ability Chlorophyll to give it 2 times speed and things like Sleep Powder and After You to just make the Eruption go as smoothly as possible. Now let's talk about 2 more strategies that I've found that I think are really good, but maybe not quite as good as everything we've seen so far. We have the Psy Spam, which Expanding Force is not gone, it's just only on Armarouge. Literally only Armarouge learns it. Armarouge gets the attack Expanding Force, which if you don't remember from Gen 8, is really powerful in Psychic Surge, which is set by Indeedee. Psychic Surge raises the base power of Psychic type moves while also allowing Expanding Force to hit both Pokemon. Stab Expanding Force from Armarouge with a maxed, very strong base 125 special attack is doing a lot of damage. So you have Psy Spam strats here with Indeedee and Armarouge, and Indeedee can also learn Follow Me, which is really good. And Armarouge actually also gets access to Trick Room, which can make for a powerful Indeedee Armarouge Psy Spam Trick Room team that uses things like Hatterene maybe. You also have things like Torkoal on those kind of teams and Amoonguss, things like that. So this is a really cool core as well, a really solid Psy Spam team here, Armarouge and Indeedee female. Now we have the last team that I want to talk about. Of course, we have hyper offense stuff in every single meta, and I think Chien-Pao is a great example of this, as its ability Swords of Ruin makes all other Pokemon go down in defense. Their defense stat is reduced by 25%. Pokemon like Iron Hands and other physical strong Pokemon can just take a lot of advantage of Chien-Pao. Now, what I've seen that I think is really cool is Earthworm, being able to use Shed Tail to turn into Chien-Pao. So I've seen Iron Hands, Earthworm, a very solid lead. Iron Hands goes like Fake Out or Protect, turn 1, and then Earthworm goes for a Shed Tail, switches into Chien-Pao, and then next turn, Iron Hands just goes crazy with things like Close Combat, very powerful things. This does have to use your booster energy, of course, to activate Quark Dive, but that's okay. Its base attack at 140, and then, you know, turn that up a notch, and then get a +1 from Quark Dive. Close Combat is doing just a ridiculous amount of damage, and your Earthworm sets up a substitute for Chien-Pao, so Chien-Pao can also do a ridiculous amount of damage. So to sum up, I think FlutterMane Chi-Yu is going to be the most powerful and most frequently seen team in the game. Also very frequently with Sun. Also Sun is going to be very, very frequently played. Usually going to be with FlutterMane and Chi-Yu. If you don't see what I'm saying, FlutterMane, Chi-Yu, and Torkoal are the top threats in the meta. And then also Dondozo and Tatsugiri are about equal with that as well. A really, really powerful duo that has counterplay in the term of Haze and Frontal Gambit, but that's pretty specific. So if you are worried about Dondozo Tatsugiri, use Haze and Frontal Gambit on your team. That is going to be it for the video today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Do you have any really powerful teams that you are using in the meta right now? Comment them down below. I want to know what you guys are using. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe. And Have a good day. Goodbye.